Another beautiful Colorado morning. It's March 14th, and it's time to start thinking about the greenhouse and hydroponics. This is my greenhouse. I've had it for about 7 years now. I have units on two sides of it, the north and south, which gives me the ample room to grow about 12 plants. I want to be able to grow more, so I'm going to build a unit in the center. This is a picture of the hydroponics unit that I'm going to show you how to build today. You'll notice that it is built with a 10-foot section of 4-inch PVC pipe that has been cut in half. The frame is simple. It's made out of 3 2x3s. It is 58 inches long, 17 inches wide, and 20 inches high. If you have a simple table, you could probably use that. It is put together with screws, and of course you'll need to make it high enough so that your liquid bucket will be able to slip under it easily. This series of pictures that I'm showing you now are the parts that are included on your parts list. The only thing that's not shown here is your 10-foot PVC pipe, your 3 2x3 boards for building the frame, and of course the screws. We start with the 145 gallon per hour pump. This you can find at Harbor Freight. This is the hardware for the plumbing that you're going to need for your hydroponics unit. Over on the right, on the bottom, there is a hose coming up to a T. This hose comes from your pump. The water comes up to your T. Going straight up, it goes to another T, and then branches out to the 1/2-inch fittings that will go into your PVC pipe. Over on the left side, this is your overflow. Down at your T again, you're going to the left. You have a reducer that changes things from a 1/2 inch up to 1 inch half size. I had to use 2 pieces on this. Then I went up to another unit, which is kind of like a U, which is your overflow. And then the black pipe coming down goes straight down into your tank as the overflow. This picture shows the hanging strap that I use for several things, and also your end caps for the PVC pipe. If you cut it in half like I did, you'll need 4 of these caps instead of 2. You always need Teflon tape for sealing your pipes. This is a snap-in gutter filter. This was originally one piece, and it was about twice as long. I have found that wire ties make inexpensive hose clamps. This is a timer for turning your pump on and off. You'll find it at Walmart. Look over by the night lights. This is an 18-gallon storage bucket I find at Walmart. Pick them up for about $4 right now. It's to hold all your liquid and your pump. And if you have to build a compression fitting, you can find these in the electrical department of your Home Depot or Lowe's. Hello, I'm Mike Wickham with Stone Otter Productions. I am here today to help teach you and talk to you about hydroponics. We're going to make up a small hydroponic unit today that out of a 10-foot long pipe that will be turned into 2 5-foot sections. This here is my old hydroponics unit. This unit I've had in production for 5 to 7 years now. It has, I made it with flower pots that I put holes in so that the water can be able to come up into and drain out of. And as you can see, I have many other units here, many other things, buckets, containers that hold the greenhouse equipment. This bag here is called Hydrotron. This is the grow media that I will be using in the hydroponics unit. I have an open one here. This is what I used last year, and I've been using this for about 5 years now, but it does break down eventually, and so I went ahead and bought another bag this year because I knew I'd need more for the center hydroponics unit that I'm going to place right here, and also to fill the flower pots up in the old centers. So now this is dirty, as you can see. There's a lot of roots and raw material in here that need to be gotten rid of. I will be cleaning this by boiling it in just a regular saucepan for about 5 minutes. And you need to get it up to a good boil when you do that. I'll be showing you that later in the film. Now, in every greenhouse, and when you're going to use hydroponics, you have to have electricity. In my greenhouse, I do have electricity wired in up here. Now, you'll notice I have it up off the floor. I do that for safety reasons. Electricity and water mix. Okay, I've decided to go with a piece of PVC pipe. This is 10 foot long. And, of course, I want it to fit on my frame here that I built out of 3 2x3s, and so I'm going to cut this in half so I can put one on one side and the other on the other side. Now I'm going to ask my wife to come around and help me hold this while I cut it in half. Okay, I've cut my pipe in half, and I've also sectioned it out into the length that I want here. I was thinking about maybe putting bands across it to help hold it in, but this is pretty thick stuff, and so I'm going to go ahead and just cut it the full length because I'll have my bands here on the end to hold it in the round shape for the caps. To start out with, I'll put a hole in each corner with a step drill I have. I like the step drill because it can drill out quickly, and it'll take it up to a 1/2 inch, and that'll be large enough for my saw blade to go into. That looks like a good slot there for it. And it's not going in, it's not going out. It has a 3-inch wide opening, and I took it the length and gave it about a 2-inch band at each end to be able to hold the caps. Now, of course, once you get the saw done, you have a lot of extra there, shavings that you want to just take. Oh, I just take the blade of my knife and knock them off. We also need to clean up our ends here because we're going to have a cap that'll go in there. Once again, we just take our knife and clean up the extra shavings off from the pipe here. Now we have both pieces of pipe that are ready to go on the stand. But before I put it on the stand, I'm going to put end caps onto it. Now I am going to use these. They're lightweight. They're pretty much a knockout plug is all they are. But there's no pressure on these pipe. All it's got to do is hold a little bit of water and the rock from flowing out. You can buy those regular caps that'll slip over the ends of your pipe here. They make a very nice contact. They cover it. They look nice. The only problem is they're also about $6 a piece. So for 4 of them, for this system, it cost me $24. I've got $15 and a little over $15 invested in the pipe right now. And to add another $24 to that would just make it a little bit more expensive than I want to pay. And so to be able to put this on, what I'm going to use is a product that's called Goop, plumber's glue. Okay, to go ahead and put the cap on, I'm going to run just a bead of plumber's glue around the edge of the cap here so I get a good solid seal, because I want this sealed all the way around. And of course we'll check it for leaks once we get the system all together. You see that glue has come out on all sides of this, and that's what we want. And I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup with my rag. And I can let that dry. I like that with the block of wood through. These are 5-foot sections, so you can see that we have 2.5 feet. I want to measure from opening to opening on our pipe, and I have 11 inches. Half of that is 5.5 inches for our bottom mark. And so here we want to be able to drill our hole. I start with a smaller drill because it's easier to go through. This bigger one, it takes a while to get through it. I changed drill bits, and I've already discovered with other pieces that I need to go all the way to the largest point so that I can put my tap in. This is a 1/2-inch pipe tap. And I want to make sure that I go in straight. And so I will be lining it up here as well as I can, turning it by hand before I put some kind of a lever on it. And in this case I'm using a 5/8 wrench. I don't want to go too deep with it, and it's just coming out the other side here now. Now we want to make a leak-free seal here with our pipe, and of course we want it to be pointing towards me when I'm done with it, so it'll be pointing towards the center. We want to wrap this about 4 to 6 times in the direction of rotation, because if it's the other way, when you put it into the pipe, it'll just peel the tape right off. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go 5 here. And then to cut it, you just pull it off. We screw it in. 1, 2. We'll go one more turn. 3. And that's where it's going to stay. You can see where my fitting is. Now I had kind of a hard time finding a 1/2-inch tap. And this tap I found down at Harbor Freight. And they have 2 sets of taps there. One is a 3 set, which cost about $13, which is a pretty good price. And they also had another one, which was a 6-piece tap set that ran $40. Of course, they didn't have the $13 one. If you can plan ahead of time, please do so. It'll save you a little bit of money, unless you have a tap already. Now, if you don't have a tap, you can't get one, don't want one, then you can make yourself a compression fitting. Now this fitting here that I made up is made out of course, the 1/2-inch 90. It has 2 nuts on it, and these you will find in the electrical department. And you'll just have to go down there and find one to fit on there, and they do have them that'll fit there. Then I have two washers. These came from the electrical department also, that fit over there. You'll need to put one on one side, and then of course put it through your PVC, put one on the other side, and then put your nut on. And you'll need all kinds of that plumber's glue to be able to make this work, to squeeze down there. Now, I really don't like to do that. That's what I had to do with my my other systems, and eventually they start leaking. And all you can do is just rip them off and redo the seal again. But it does work, and it usually lasts about 2 seasons, and you're done. But when you can cut the thread and put the tape on there, that should last the life of your system. And now we need to determine which direction it's going to go on. So I'll put the other one up here. This one will be going on this side. This one will be going on the other side. So I'll want to turn it 1/2 more turn here, so that the 2 pipes are pointing towards each other. And then we'll go ahead and clamp these back down. Cut the matter here. We need to be able to get our water from the bottom up into our troughs and be able to go back down again. This is what I use for a water bucket. And this is where our nutrient and our water will go. And this will be underneath our units, somewhat like this. And that's where it'll be stored into. Now the items that we need are a pump. This is a 190-gallon pump. We don't need one that powerful, but it's hard to find one that's a little bit smaller, but not way too small. For example, a 145 pump, 145-gallon pump, will work beautifully for this. However, if you get down to like a 55 or a 65-gallon pump, those are too light. And it's true, we're not going to be pumping 55 or 65 gallons into this in an hour, or even 15 minutes. But what the other ones will not do, it will not pump high enough. This pump will be down this low, and it'll pump up about this high. And so that is well above our troughs. If you get a pump that is like a 55-gallon or 65-gallon, it pumps about that high over the pump. And it's just not high enough. It will not come up and fill your troughs for you. Now, of course, we have our 2 units underneath here. And I guess I need to turn this so you can see it. But we have these 2 fittings here. And we need to be able to fit another T right in the middle here. And so I use garden hose that was no good. It broke, and so I've just been cutting it up over the years and using it in my hydroponic system. It's a great 1/2-inch hose. My fittings slip on real nicely. And now I have another unit. This will go to our overflow and also to the pump. Now this unit here, on your overflow, you want to have something that's about twice as big as your regular pipe for an overflow. And here I have a unit that will go from a 1/2 inch up to 1 inch. This goes from 1/2 inch to 3/4, and then this will go from 3/4 to 1 inch. And that is what we need. Okay, now we need to be able to set the height of our water so it doesn't come out over the troughs and just flow over. And that's what we're doing with this unit here. This will be our overflow. Our pump will attach to this fitting here, and we'll go down into the bucket like that. And this unit will come up, and however high this is the limit of the height of the water. Now I've got a unit here that's exactly what it does. It takes the water and only sets it so high. Now I put a piece of black piping on here, and I'll have to move my board back a little bit so it's not quite so tight. But we want this, I'll have to cut that just a little bit here. So that our height will be adjustable according to a band here. And at this point I'll put it together. Now I'm not as strong as some of you, and so I have to heat this pipe up a little bit so that I can put it together. And now I can adjust that up and down, and it will set the level of my water. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the pump. This is a 190 gallon pump. You can use 145, and if you can find it, it's a little bit cheaper. And that's fine. This here cost me $8. It's on sale. I buy them at Harbor Freight. Now, you have an adjustment on the front here, and it's hard to see, even off from camera. You can adjust it right here. This is full flow, and that's low flow. Even with it all the way down, it still has flow coming out. You want to use this one because it pumps up higher than your troughs are, even when your pump is all the way down on the ground. And that's what you need. With a 145, will also pump up high enough for you to use, but with your 55 or 65 gallon per hour, they don't pump up high enough that you can be able to use them. They will only pump up about that high over the pump. And so be careful. Now, to hook it in, I put a piece of plastic tubing here that I expanded over a 1/2 inch copper pipe, a little short section that I slid into my hose, and that's how I adapted it from my pump size up to my hose size. And that's got a fairly snug fitting. And so you notice I have it laying down flat there, and that's all right. Of course, the fluid comes up your tube here into your T, which part of it shoots off into your 2 troughs. The other part comes to this overflow, which comes up, and the overflow is set here and comes down here. As high up as I have it here right now, your troughs would overflow. But we want to we'll set it down lower about here, and once we fill it up with water and check it, then we'll actually adjust the level. We'll start out with it very low, and we'll run it for a few minutes and let the troughs fill up, and then we'll adjust it to the height that we want. Okay, next we're going to do our functional test, but before we do that, I want to talk about these little cages that I've put inside here. Now, the 1/2 inch hole, the rock, the grow rock, and the materials from roots and everything else gets real dirty, and we need to have the capability to have those holes not get clogged up. And so I went down to Lowe's and bought a gutter screen protector for your gutters on your house, just one of them. It cost me $1, and you know, it's got the wide holes, and then it's got screen covering the top of it. And this one I just kind of funneled around and cut it down to size, and I'll be gluing those in place. Now here we did another design of a little box, and we'll be trying that one, and we'll be gluing them both in place and try to determine which one is better. And so, but for right now, for our functional test, we're going to leave them out. Now, before we functionally test it, we need to make sure that it's level. And of course, I have my level here. We have placed it on bricks, and we've brought it up really close to level here. And on the side, checked it in the back also. And then we checked it on the side for level there, and it's level here. Now at this point, I'm going to start pumping, running the pump, and getting the water up into the troughs. Now, when it's normally under functional test, or when it's working totally, we have a pump. Okay, it is pumping. It's making some noise there. It probably was full of air, and we had to purge it out. Now over here you can see the overflow working already. You can see the water pumping up into the main units here. And I see I got a leak over here, probably around my hose. And we'll seal that up with a hose clamp. Got one here also. But the main thing I'm concerned about are these end caps. Make sure that they don't leak. Okay, I had to reduce my pump to a 145 gallon per hour pump. The 190 just overpowered this system. It brought it up and it was ready to overflow, and it was at its lowest setting. I had my level set just as low as I could, and it still overpowered it. So I've gone to 145, turned it down to as low as it'll go. I've been able to raise my level back up again so that I get a good height on it here. And you want this a good 3/4 of the way full of water, and so it maintains it there. Now you'll have your system on a timer. Now this here is a GE timer, and you can get it over at Walmart, model number PM613US. It'll turn on and turn off every 15 minutes, and that's what I have it set to. During the first part of the year, when the plants are small, you don't need to do it that often. Usually once every couple hours, just to keep the pod moistened is all you need. But after it gets into full production, it's going to need it every 15 minutes. This is a pH meter. It checks the acidicness or alkaline in your water. Each type of plant needs a different level. For example, tomatoes need to be 6.2 to about 6.5. Cucumbers can be a little bit wider, of a 6.4 to a 6.7. You can change the level of your pH by either adding just a small bit of vinegar or a little bit of baking soda based upon which way you need to go. Now we start talking about fertilizers. This one I bought many years ago, and it is probably the best item on the market. My plants did not grow any better or faster with anything else except this. However, it is also the most expensive. The previous fertilizer cost me about $60, and it lasted me just a little over one season, which wasn't very good. It's awful expensive. This, what you see here, is powder. On the left we have our fertilizer. The center we have calcium nitrate, and to the right we have magnesium sulfate, which is Epsom salt. And then of course you've got a scale there to measure it all out. And all this cost me about $75, which is a little bit more than the other, but this here has lasted me for 4 years now. And you can see I still have at least half of it left. And it grows almost as well as the liquid does. And so this is what I use. You'll have many options out there to be able to choose from. Out on the website and on the parts list, I've also given you a couple of suppliers that you might choose from. When mixing, follow the manufacturer's recommendations. They've already tested it and they know what works. I have here 2 pumps that I used on my systems last year. They are very dirty and very ugly. I'm going to clean them up today. To do this, I have a 2-quart pitcher, some vinegar. I'm going to turn my pump onto full maximum flow, place my pump into the 2-quart pitcher, and then fill vinegar up over the top of the pump. And then I will turn on the pump and let it run for about 30 minutes. Now these pumps look like new. The grow media is going to take quite a bit more to clean up. Now this grow media, you may have gotten Hydrotron or Hydrocorn or Grow Rock or by some other name, but nevertheless it can be cleaned up. To clean the growing media from disease and bacteria, I boil it for 5 minutes. This may not get rid of all the organic material, but it does clean up a lot of it. This is the cleaned up growing material. Now you'll notice there's still some organic matter in it, but that's okay. It took me just under an hour to be able to boil all of it. And don't forget to clean up the rest of your system too. Most of it you can scrub down with soap and water and rinse it off real good. Now you'll notice that in this bucket I've marked it with a permanent marker. It's actually marked on all 4 sides to determine how many gallons I have in the bucket. This is what I need to know for when I mix formula. I'll pour the amount of formula in, and then I'll take 3 or 4 gallons and pour that into the main tank. Hopefully soon your greenhouse, your hydroponics unit, will look much like this, and your plants will grow and grow and grow and give you lots of produce that you can be able to share and enjoy. My name is Michael Wickham. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you need to contact me, go ahead and email me at aclv@comcast.net. Have a great growing season. Goodbye now.